Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Monday, December 16th. It's Fed week with the final update on monetary policy for 2024 due out later this week. On Friday, markets ended mixed, but basically flat. The Nasdaq eked out a gain of 23 points or 0.12%. The Dow gave up 86 points or 0.2%. The S&P 500 also ended in the red by less than a point, so essentially flat. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. The S&Ps are positive. We're up 0.25, more than 0.2%. Nice way to start off the day is the market really does turn its attention over to the Fed meeting that's happening Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. It's not the only meeting this week. We also have central bank meetings at the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, and other banks as well. It is kind of a big week for central bank meetings, and the market is anticipating a 25 basis point cut in rates. Forward guidance, they'll probably, be a little bit shocking when that new dot plot comes out. We're looking for them to indicate, that they're only going to be cutting rates, 50 basis points or 75 basis points. 75 basis points is kind of going to be what they say, but that dot plot is never a very good indicator of what's going to happen. It's just how the Fed is feeling at that time, and I don't think that they want to drop from what they anticipate in September, which is a full percentage point cut, to half a percentage point cut. I think they'll kind of say 75 basis points is in the cards, so we'll see. Late Friday, PLTR, MSTR, AXON, they were all added to the Nasdaq 100. That's going to happen next week. They're going to be added next week. Those stocks had a good run last week. They had a nice run in anticipation. This week, hey, we got earnings out from Micron, Linear, General Mills, ConAgra, CTAS, FedEx, Nike, and others. That could be interesting. Congress, the Congress could be in the news this week. They got to pass a continuing resolution by Friday, December 20th, to avoid a partial government shutdown. It'll probably go to the wire, but I still think they will avoid the government shutdown. What else in macro developments? China economic news came in mixed. Eurozone flash PMIs, still in contraction mode. Big story, I think, was Moody's downgrading French debt over the weekend. That's not positive for the French markets. Speaking of the European markets, let's take a look and see how they're doing. We got the DAX down 88 points or 0.43%. The big story here is, the German chancellor. He's facing a confidence vote in parliament, which may result in a new round of elections. Those elections would happen in February. Then we got the FTSE. The FTSE's down 28 points or 0.35%. Central bank decisions are really, on focus on the FTSE. The CAC in Paris down 70 points or 0.94%. Like I said, Moody's lowered the French credit rating to AA2 from AA2 to AA3, so that's not positive. And the theory, it's political instability is really causing that downgrade. Then we're taking a look at the Asian markets and what happened last night, this morning. We got the Nikkei down 12 points or 0.03%. They have a central bank meeting, and it looks like they're going to be pushing off the rate hike that is expected until January. Some of their officials have kind of said that they want to see more data coming in. Then we got Hong Kong, which fell 175 points, which is 0.88%. Weakness was in tech, consumer stocks, and property stocks. And Shanghai and China finished lower, 0.16%. Retail sales growth slowed more than expected in November, while industrial production exceeded forecasts. So we're seeing some mixed economic data out of China. And then we're keeping an eye on oil, and oil is trading lower this morning. You got WTI at $70.69 a barrel. You got Brent at $73.99 a barrel. There is some profit taking going on, but the economic data out of China being mixed isn't helping oil prices this morning. And that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
And Bill, as we heard there in your opening, throughout the week, economic events are really going to be top of mind and be the thing, really the driver of the markets, not just monetary policy here, but as you mentioned, other decisions on monetary policy around the globe. But before we get to the day's economic events, we'll take it day by day here. We're going to turn to earnings action. And even though it's a little bit light, we do have some more interesting earnings due out later this week, as you told us. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings?
Yeah, it's light today and tomorrow, but Wednesday and Thursday heat up. I mean, the interesting one is Birkenstock Holdings, ticker BIRK. I mean, you look at the call put volume, 9,061 calls versus 287 puts on Friday. I mean, that's a 0.03 put to call ratio. General Mills, ticker GIS, their put to call ratio on Friday was 0.26. That's positive. Lanier was negative. Their put to call ratio was 1.76. Micron's coming out on Tuesday. Their put call ratio was 0.35, so that's positive. So yeah, we got to keep an eye on that data as it fluctuates ahead of earnings. But those are some of the earnings that are coming out this week, Emily.
And Bill, along with watching earnings throughout the week, of course, we are watching economic events as we await the latest from the Fed here in the U.S. But in the meantime, let's look here at Monday. Bill, what is going on in terms of today's economic events?
For today, I mean, at 8:30 a.m. we get the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index. Then at 9:45 we get the composite flash PMI data. That should be interesting. But realistically, the speculation is on the FOMC meeting where we're likely to get a 25 basis point cut in interest rates. That would lower the Fed funds rate to a range of 4.25 to 4.5. And following that announcement, you get the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's press conference, and that's going to be filled with a market moving commentary. So that's the key one for this week, Emily.
And Bill, as we're trying to follow all of this market moving news, that earnings action that will heat up throughout the week, the Fed announcement, along with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's comments, we are keeping track of all of this using NewsWare and breaking it down into alerts. I can't imagine any other way to sort of keep track of all of this information. And not only are you keeping track of earnings reports and economic events, but you're also keeping track of other types of news and data as day in and day out. And during the mornings, you gather news, things like merger news, buyback news, catalyst calls. You look at your stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets on this Monday?
Quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 17 higher, 11 lower. The rest are unchanged. Netflix is showing a little weakness this morning, down 0.2%. There was a downgrade on the stock. Price target lowered on the stock this morning, but all the other FANG stocks are trading higher. So that's good to see, and that helps the S&Ps. The S&Ps are now up 0.3%, so that's positive. And we're looking at some of the news behind it, like Apple. Apple apparently is planning to introduce, some new models. They want to introduce a thinner phone. They want to introduce 2 different foldable devices, which have been like in the works, but because of the hinges, they really couldn't get devices that they felt comfortable with. But now apparently they have. So Apple, you look at the stock, it is ticking higher this morning. Meta Platforms, ticker META, they're urging the California's Attorney General to block OpenAI's planned conversion to a for-profit company. I mean, their argument is sound. I mean, they say it sets a dangerous precedent of allowing startups to enjoy the advantages of being a nonprofit and then switching to become a for-profit company. That's not really good, for the state of California. So I mean, they have some basis for it. We'll see what happens with that. Tesla, they're continuing to fight to restore Elon Musk's historic pay package. But, there's cost to doing this. And, you got a lot of lawyers involved, and it could wind up being $100 billion in tax and accounting charges to kind to try and pay him, this money. So we got to be a little cautious there on how much effort you want to do to pay your CEO, a historic pay package. Then we're talking Dow Jones 30. The key stock this morning in the Dow is really Honeywell, because Honeywell announced that it is exploring strategic alternatives to unlock shareholder value. HON, Henry Oscar Nancy. This is met with, a positive announcement from Elliott and Associates, because they're pushing for this. So, you look at shares of Honeywell this morning, the stock's up 2.36%. United Healthcare, ticker UNH. It's got two negative catalysts. I mean, the CEO death obviously is a negative catalyst, and the pharma business legislation, where they want to remove pharmacy benefit manufacturers, PBAs, from owning pharmacies. That's negative for UNH, Cigna, and CVS. But it could have bottomed here. That's my point. It's UNH. It's worthwhile to keep an eye on. Stock is trading 0.3% higher, and once it does start to move, it has legs. In terms of merger news, WBA, Walgreens Boots Alliance, Sycamore Partners lined up $10 billion in financing for a potential takeover of Walgreens Boots Alliance, ticker WBA. Lamb Weston, ticker LW. Hey, this takeover is, Post Holdings is looking to take over Lamb Weston. So this is a big deal. And the Post is said to be working with investment bankers, and Lamb Weston, has scheduled their earnings announcement for this week. So something could be happening here. Ticker LW and POST, something to keep an eye on. And that's what I have for you in terms of no, I do have some buyback news. Western Union, ticker WU. They did announce a $1 billion stock repurchasing plan on Friday after the bell. And, that's worthwhile paying attention to. But that's all I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us to start this week?
I'm going to go with Post Holdings, ticker POST, on the takeover speculation. I know that they're supposedly the suitor, but it makes a lot more sense for Lamb Weston to buy Post than it does for Post to buy Lamb Weston. So, I look at Post Holdings, and it did fall on the initial drop of when the speculation started hitting the tape. But you look at the call volume of Post Holdings, 1,755 calls versus 743 puts, and you got to be positive on the stock. So if the deal falls through, the stock will go higher. But it's also possible that Post could wind up being bought by Lamb Weston, which would also be positive for Post. If I can get an entry point of, 115.75 to 116.25, like a 50 cents range there, I think this might be worth looking into. So that's my pick of the day, Post Holdings, ticker POST, Emily.
We will follow Post Holdings along with you. You're trading that news cycle. And coming up, we will take a look back on Friday's pick of the day. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, let's see what we have here that's hitting the tape this morning. JANA reiterates wanting leadership change or sale in letter to Lamb Weston's board, JANA Partners. Glasgow, ticker GSK, they announced the FDA granted the BTD for Jemperl. Dollar General releases holiday deals for the final days of 24 days of savings. So this is interesting. It's a nice concept. 24 days of savings, a new deal every day. I kind of like that method. That means you've got to go back every day and kind of look what the new deal is. And it's only 24 days, so it's a short period of time, but it can drive a lot of traction. HIMS, ticker HIMS. These implied volatilities at 123. Now, the 52-week range is 40 to 136, so it's really on the high end. And I don't like buying high implied stocks where the implied volatility is high. I want to buy them when they're low. Novo Holdings, they apparently have completed all regulatory conditions for a merger with Caliant. EWTX shares are higher as phase 2 trial data met primary endpoints. AXON, this is, they make tasers. MSTR, PLTR, they were all selected by Nasdaq to be in the Nasdaq 100 effective next week. Marathon Petroleum Corp, MPC, Teamsters members working at the oil firm's Detroit refinery have voted to ratify a 7-year collective bargaining agreement. British regulators came out earlier today, and they're forcing companies like Meta, Facebook, TikTok to tackle criminal activity on their platforms, making it safer by design. Procter & Gamble PG it promised a group of shareholders that it's going to disclose more details on how it audits wood pulp suppliers. U.S. Steel, the Treasury has informed Nippon Steel that the panel reviewing the proposed $14.9 billion purchase of U.S. Steel has not yet come to an agreement on how to address security concerns. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off and dive into trading for yet another week, let's do that chicken on Friday's pick of the day, which was Dell. Now, there's lots of good articles coming across the tape last week and over the weekend about Dell's ability to innovate, its handle on the AI boom. Last week, Citi also tapped Dell as a top pick. A lot of positive news here. You were hoping to trade a little bit of momentum in tech on Friday. I think there was some room for some gain here, but Bill, how did your call end up working out?
It didn't work out. I mean, Dell opened up at $120.38 and then rose to $121.27. That's not 1%. And then tech weakness came, overlapped the market, and the stock finished lower at 118.45. And you see the stock trade 119. I still think it'll come back. But Dell didn't reach it. I mean, it came real close, but it was not the 1% target price that we're looking for. It was like 0.80. But that's can't win every day. But it wasn't a bad idea. It just the timing wasn't great, Emily.
Maybe a longer term play there with Dell and Bill. We will check in with you tomorrow about today's Post Holdings pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning this week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.